When I first started fighting promised Consort Radahn, I thought he was one of the worst bosses FromSoft had ever created. After hundreds and hundreds of attempts spanning just hours and hours, session after session, making small improvements and actually learning how to handle his massive moveset one by one, I warmed up to him a ton. I think I still hate him though. There have been many difficult Souls bosses over the years, but Radahn feels the most unbalanced. He really does feel like a boss the developers wanted to become the new hardest Souls boss of all time. And it's a huge shame, because there's an excellent, fair, and still incredibly difficult fight hiding inside Radahn, but it's being obscured by Miquella's fucking hair, among other things. Phase 1 is largely problem-free, and what's more than that, he's actually super fun and engaging while being very difficult. His cross-chop sucks fucking shit though. An attack that essentially cannot be consistently dodged through conventional means has absolutely no place in these games, and I can't think of a single other instance of this. It's not that it's incredibly challenging to dodge, it's just that you basically can't. With my brain firing at max speed to dodge the first chop, the second one always hits me, no questions asked. I've seen people claim if you dodge in a certain direction it can be rolled through, but that has absolutely not been my experience. Aside from that one attack though, one that really doesn't do a ton of damage and is relatively inconsequential in the grand scheme of things, though words cannot express how much disdain I have for an attack that auto-hits you the second he decides to use it. I see no world in which this doesn't eventually get nerfed. I love his first phase. It feels like Radahn, a natural version of Radahn more in his prime and without Leonard. Most of his combos have super enjoyable rhythms with admittedly small punish windows at the end, and his gravity magic was extremely cool. I don't mind how small his windows to punish are, since he does have windows and they're mostly incredibly consistent once you deeply understand his moveset. And that's kind of a theme throughout this whole fight, the idea that on their own, none of his shortcomings or bullshit ruin the fight. On their own. It's the fact that they're all a part of the same boss. Vanishingly small punish windows, Miquella's hair at best distracting the shit out of you, but more often than not entirely hiding what Radahn is doing, so you have to look for horrendously subtle clues or straight up guess as to what combo he's starting. AoE flashbang nightmares after every attack, a solid few attacks that, namely his cloning shenanigans, feel like whatever tricks or tactics you use to avoid damage only work most of the time. For his upgraded gravity magic move, you sprint away, jump, then run to the left. But every once in a while this just wouldn't work? Skill issue? Almost certainly. But the fact is that what is making me succeed or fail is so tiny or subtle that it borders on unfair, unbalanced. Kinda like his opening move in phase 2, which he does about 90% of the time, meaning you essentially have to act as though he's always doing it. Meaning on those rare occasions where he uses something else, you're incredibly caught off guard. Plus that attack has quite literally a 0.1 second response window. If you wait until the animation actually starts, then begin running away, you're gonna get hit. I also cannot think of a single move in any other boss fight that functions this way. I really don't mind the grab attack where Miquella steals your heart if you're caught twice in one attempt. It's pretty funny, and honestly it's by far his easiest move to dodge, and it includes a punish window. If this move were hard to dodge, or even just as hard to dodge as his normal stuff, I'd probably hate it. I only got killed by it once, and it was super late into my attempts, to the point where I thought I knew everything he had hiding in his bag of tricks, so I couldn't even really be mad at this one. This one made me giggle. You know what else makes me giggle? When people subscribe to my channel. It's free, it's easy, it makes me giggle with glee. What more could you want? In all seriousness though, it helps the channel a ton, and it would mean a lot to me if you consider subscribing if you enjoy this sort of content. It's likely due to the vastness and complexity of his moveset, but I just felt Radahn didn't always respond consistently. Some of his combos either end or add one additional swing, and you have to wait to confirm which one it is so you can act accordingly. That's great, that variance is lovely and results in way more of those moments where you get hit and go, yeah, that was my fault. But in phase 2 specifically, it just feels like he does whatever he wants a lot of the time. Like he has far more than just a few things he can do in any given situation. This again probably is a skill issue, since I would have held a similar sentiment during my first few hours of attempts in regards to things like his holy flashbangs not being consistent, when in reality they do have a pattern to learn. It was just confusing and challenging. But I don't know. I can't think of many bosses who hit me as often as Radahn where I just truly be perplexed that he did what he did. I want to be mad at myself for being hit, for making the wrong play. I don't want to be mad at the boss for doing something I couldn't really anticipate. FromSoft has managed to have a large chunk of their final bosses, both base game and DLC, be complete and total bangers. Some true S-tier bosses like Ishin, Gurman, Gale, Sister Frida, and Koss. Other exemplary bosses that flirt with my S-tier and no doubt are included in many other people's like Suralan, Manus, even Radahn. Does anyone honestly think Radahn fits in with this group? If the answer is no, which it disgustingly should be, then how can you not classify promised Consort Radahn as an abject failure? The bar is sky high, yes, but FromSoft has given us these lofty expectations by delivering time and time again. And honestly, Radahn doesn't need stiff competition to be looked at unfavorably. There is some fun to be had and immense joy and relief upon victory, but I feel more strongly than ever that this is the most artificial difficulty FromSoft has ever dabbled with. I think this fight pushes the line of what can and can't be reasonably expected from the player, and I love that. It just sucks that they then added so much unnecessary bullshit to tip the scale so far in the wrong direction. This is probably going to go down as one of the hardest bosses I've ever tried to rank, since he's going to end up finding himself in between two relatively insignificant and inoffensive bosses, and yet I'm going to have so much more disdain for him than either one of them. But I'll also have fonder memories and respect what FromSoft was maybe trying to do with Radahn so much more. Promised Consort Radahn is a frustrating boss, and hopefully a blip on their track record of important bosses rather than an ill omen of design philosophy to come. FromSoft retains all of my faith, hope, love, and optimism, but I do think this is one of their largest blunders to date given all of the context.